In March 2022, Arknights Endfield was announced to the world, and at that time, we didn't know what to expect. We saw a concept trailer and some gameplay that didn't show us much of anything, and now it's December 2025, and I've played the Chinese and English technical tests, the global CBT, and now the final closed beta. I've spent over 65 hours on just this beta alone, and it's only day 6 as of the time I'm recording this video, and I figured now is the perfect time for me to talk about my experience with the game. So, without wasting any more time, let's get it poppin'. So what is Arknights Endfield? It's kind of a lot of things. If I were to categorize it, I'd call it a 3D strategy RPG, just as they've been advertising it to be. Currently, the game is primarily a factory sim with some action combat and extraction mode, 3D tower defense mode, and of course, a lot of brand new story. I know that's a lot, but Hypergryph is known to be experimental in their previous game, Arknights. This game gives you a ton of stuff to do, with about 30 hours of the game being spent on just the story content alone. The reason I say that this game is primarily a factory game is because you'll be spending a lot of time in the factory because you'll need the factory in many aspects of the game. You need some new gear, you need materials from the factory, you need money to build your gear, factory and selling items in the stock exchange-like system. You want some heals for combat? Factory. Majority of your needs will be through the factory, and initially, I can see why people would be turned off by this, but for those seeking something different and more interesting, I believe this is something worth giving a try. When you see someone else's factory or you watch gameplay for the first time with no experience in factory games, you'll be highly intimidated from what you see and how much there is to do. However, as someone who has put in less than an hour in Factorio, I can honestly say that I found myself enjoying the factory after giving it a try. There's something satisfying about figuring out which puzzle piece goes where and then watching the factory work for you, providing all of your needs towards your progression. You basically have various extensions of the factory in each location that you visit, where you'll be crafting specific materials for groups that are in need of those materials. You'll be using the stock builds that you earn to expand upon those various locations and obtaining needs for your characters as well. There's just so much to the system, and everything within the game ties into it in some way. Moving on from the factory, the combat in this game is very satisfying to experience. I've said this multiple times, while I do enjoy slower combat systems, this one has enough to keep me exploring different team compositions in an attempt to see who can create a constant flow within the combat. Instead of just waiting for cooldowns, this combat system is all about synergy. Synergy with the elements, character combos, the battle skills, and more, all while managing a skill point system to ensure that you can execute these combos in the first place. That's right, you have a skill point system that works as a shared resource amongst the team. If you don't have the skill points, none of your characters can use their skills and start any combos with their battle or combo skills. You may be able to get some combos started with the ultimates, but without your skills, you aren't going to be able to utilize your teams to the fullest. The one thing I do want to say here is that I hope the developers have a plan to add more mechanics to the boss fights in an effort to make the fights more immersive and provide a sense of challenge while figuring out proper objectives to defeat that enemy instead of just creating a cool looking bullet sponge. They have such a good example in the tutorial where the boss had specific points to defeat before we even get to touch his main health. This boss should be the baseline to all boss fights within the game. I plan on diving deeper into this topic a bit later because I not only believe combat deserves its own video, but I think some ideas could possibly influence the devs to create some unique mechanics for upcoming bosses. A question that I am often asked is, do I need to play the original Arknights title to enjoy this game? And my answer is always no. However, there is a greater reward for knowing the lore placed within Arknights because it does apply here. Throughout my playthrough for Arknights Endfield, I found many mentions of events that occurred in the original Arknights title, but they have been mentioned as history. This brings greater weight to the story for me personally because it means that all of that promotion in the previous tests that lined up with events in the original game are actually relevant and canon. This isn't just some alternate universe, it's the same universe but taking place over 100 years later. Speaking of canon, the story. Well, after sitting down and absorbing the story that I experienced in this beta, I really enjoyed the overall experience. There are some things that I felt needed some improvements that may be a bit too late to improve as the game is approaching its release period. The Valley Force storyline is just alright. The story takes place on Talos-II. This is a planet far away from the Terra that we know of in the original Arknights title. However, a lot of Terrans found a gate located far north of Terra, and sometime after the current events in the original game, they happened to get this gate working. This gate brought Terrans to Talos-II, and the quest to adapt to living on this new world begins. However, you play as the Administrator, who has, you guessed it, lost their memory. The Administrator is someone who is only woken up when something of great importance is taking place on Talos-II. And when I say of great importance, I mean anything that could compromise the life Terrans are trying to build on Talos-II. In the past, you've woken up for war and even greater situations, but this time it feels kind of light, at the beginning at least, because the reason you're waking up is because of the main enemies of the first part of this game, and that is the Landbreakers. These enemies are so basic compared to the reunion of the original Arknights game. In this one, I'll be honest, I don't know why the Landbreakers exist, why they do what they do, and if they have a true cause behind their motivations, as the entirety of the story has reduced them to the pawns of a greater enemy, and fighting them feels like smacking around kids that don't know how to act in an effort to get them to act right. The weight of their existence is just non-existent. However, this greater enemy, Neferith, is the true obstacle, and she's just using the Landbreakers for her own cause. I don't want to dive too deep into the story because I know you all want to experience it for yourselves. However, I will say that this section of the story isn't strong at all. The later half of the story of Valley Force gets so much better, and Wu Ling is leaps and bounds better story-wise. However, I enjoyed the overall story very much, and I can't wait to experience it in its final form. Before we move into the final section of the video, I have to talk about the quality of this game. The cutscenes, the voiceovers, emotions in the characters' faces, all of this is what I'd expect from a high-budget AAA game. A good example of this is Yvonne's story quest. In previous tests, I didn't care for this character at all. She was just there, and she was fun to play, but the story just didn't capture me. This time, I almost cried, which is ridiculous to say, and I am a crybaby, but the writing here was just so good. It had such good purpose behind everything done in the story, as it tackled topics such as loneliness, grief, and moving on from those feelings. This storyline not only made you feel a part of it through its scenes and the story itself, but it gave you a much deeper understanding of Yvonne. It made her feel human. I plan on making a separate video on this topic as well, but the quality of all of this is just amazing, and it gives me high expectations for future story, even though Valley 4 was weak. So, last but not least, do I recommend this game? Absolutely yes. The story is good, the combat is better, and the factory must grow. This combination of game is something that I wouldn't really have expected to like, but somehow it all works very well together, and I enjoyed playing it. I haven't even talked about all the game modes within the game. There's an extraction mode that's really quite replayable. There's a Death Stranding light delivery mode that you do daily, and there's so much more in terms of content. If you're looking for something very much different from the same copy and paste that we've been experiencing in Gacha, this is exactly that. However, this game has a lot of content and wants you to actually play it. Lowlight, a key developer behind the game, has stated multiple times that they're attempting to create something uniquely theirs, as they know there is a market for people who are looking for unique experiences. I think that they've done a great job at accomplishing that. And that's basically it for my thoughts on Arknights Endfield. With Beta 2 being the final beta before the early 2026 launch, I'm looking forward to this release. This game has quite literally ruined other gacha games for me. I haven't even put it down since the release of this beta. I played over 50 hours in just 4 days, and I'm still going with over 65 hours now. So now we wait for the release, and I'm hoping many of you will at least give this game a try. If you're interested in joining a Discord filled with Arknights fans and fans of Hypergryph games, you can click the link in the description for a no-tolerance, drama-free, doom-posting-free environment. Thank you for watching this video, and I can't wait to give you more content on Arknights Endfield. Have a wonderful day, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay chaotic. Peace out, everyone.